Hello. Hi. So we're here today to talk about the public service loan forgiveness limited time waiver, which is expiring on October 31st. And so if you are a full-time employee at a nonprofit or government agency, you're gonna wanna pay attention here because that means that maybe your student loans could get forgiven earlier than you think they might. Cameron, do you have student loans?
I do.
I do too. So this is really important for us. I have the studentaid.gov website pulled up, so we're just gonna kind of like read along. So until October 31st, you can get credit for payments that were previously not qualified under PSLF. So that means you can get credit for past payments even if you didn't make the payment on time, if you didn't pay the full amount, or if you weren't on the right repayment plan. So in the past, you had to be on an income-driven repayment plan in order to get credit towards PSLF, and now you don't. So what that means, and this part still applies. It means that if you make 120 qualifying payments, that means payments while you're working full-time for a nonprofit or government agency, 120 payments, so once a month for 10 years. After 10 years, the rest of your loans get forgiven. Super great. But in the past, if you didn't make the payment on time, if you didn't pay the full amount, or if you weren't on the right repayment plan, those payments wouldn't count. So even if you did everything right and fixed it, those payments that you made before wouldn't have counted towards your 120 count. But now with this waiver, a lot of those payments can count, which is awesome. There's a lot of nuance and things that I tried to understand and I really don't. But we're just gonna kind of go through and talk about what you need to do to make sure that you get all the paperwork in before October 31st. And then also some kind of weird examples of what that might look like. So, Cameron, are you familiar with studentaid.gov?
I am familiar with studentaid.gov.
So first you're gonna wanna log into there. That's gonna kind of be your hub for all of this super fun stuff. And then first you're gonna wanna check that your employer is qualified. And what you can do is do the PSLF employer search. So on this page, you just literally hit this search button and you look up your employer's identification number or EIN and then hit search. And if they pop up and it says that they are eligible, then you're good to go.
Wow.
However, even if they're not eligible, if it says maybe eligible, complete the rest of this anyway. Next step is to find out what kind of loans that you have. So there are a bunch of different kinds, but what you're looking for in this case is direct loans. And if you have loans that are not direct loans, you're gonna wanna turn them into direct loans to make sure that they all qualify for this PSLF waiver. To check on what kind of loans you have, you're gonna wanna log into studentaid.gov, and there is a dashboard at the bottom. And you're gonna open up that and click into each individual loan that you see, and your whole loan history should be in there. And you're gonna wanna see if it says in that additional loan information, you're gonna wanna check to see that it says direct. So consolidating your loans is a thing that you get all these spam calls about and consider consolidating your loans and blah, 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 blah. And in the past, it was a little bit tricky to do this because if you were applying or going for PSLF, it means that any qualifying payments that you made in the past before you consolidated, then all of those would get wiped out. So say you made 100 qualifying payments and then decided to consolidate your loans, those 100 payments that you made before wouldn't have counted.
Oh, no.
I know.
Yeah.
But under this limited PSLF waiver, if you consolidate now, this won't affect that count. So super awesome part. So once you check to see what kind of loans that you have, if you have any kind of loans that aren't direct, you can consolidate those. And all of mine just happen to be direct, so I don't know anything about consolidating and how long that takes, but I think it's only a few minutes, maybe. There are other pros and cons to consolidating. For one, it could affect your monthly payment, your interest rates, because what they do is they take a weight of all of the interest rates that you have. So if some are higher and some are lower, the new interest rate will be somewhere in the middle. And once you understand what kind of loans that you have, what you're gonna wanna do is go into the PSLF help tool. Now this is where I kind of got a little bit tripped up because I was like, oh, help tool is just I don't know.
Yeah.
What this means is like you can do all this stuff by hand through your student loan provider, and they have like kind of their own set of paperwork. But this, like, think of it as like a wizard on like a computer program. Like it'll just kind of like give you everything that you need all in one place, so that instead of doing it through your provider, it'll just help you. So the website for that is studentaid.gov/PSLF. And it only takes a few minutes. What you do is you give it all of your employer information, not just your current employer, but if you previously worked another full-time position at a nonprofit, you can put that in there as well. And you're just kind of want to like get everybody just in case. Even if it says like maybe qualified or like maybe eligible, put it in there anyway, doesn't hurt. So then at the end, after you do that, it'll ask you some more questions, and then it'll spew out this PDF at the end. And this is where I kind of got lost, because it's not necessarily really clear that the PDF is like there for you to download. So you click on that and you print that out. Then what you need to do is get signatures from your employer and then send those back to your loan provider.
Can you mail or fax them in?
You have to mail or fax them in. Your direct loan servicer may have an upload option. So I don't, because my loans are being serviced now by AidVantage, and they do not have an upload option. But I think like Mohila or they do. And if you have been applying for PSLF, this sheet is just your yearly update. So once you're on the track for applying for PSLF and you're making those qualifying payments, every year you have to let the loan servicer know that you are still working at a qualifying nonprofit, and you need a signature from your employer, and you need to send that in once a year. So this is that, but it will also, once you send in this paperwork before October 31st, then your loan provider / maybe the government, I don't know, will look at that and will make sure that like these qualifying payments, you'll get an updated payment count. You'll get an update with like all of the information if you had past payments. So you don't need to like figure it out on your own. You can just send in this paperwork, and basically like they'll let you know if your past payment count has been affected. So really this whole process does not take that long. It's like a little confusing at first, but I'm just gonna lay out the steps right here. So 1, check to see that your employer is qualified. 2, consolidate your loans if you have to. And 3, fill out the PSLF help tool, get the signatures from your employer, and mail or fax it or upload me. Do you have any like questions, anything?
No, it's nice hearing that it's basically just 4 steps to submit the form, and that it's better to submit it even if it just says that maybe your employer counts or not, and that it's due on Halloween.
Nice.
Or by Halloween.
Oh, and that actually reminds me of like one other thing. So in the past, so say that you like made a bunch of payments, like let's speak purely in hypotheticals here. I was a teacher for 10 years, and now I'm like retired or like switched jobs. And in that 10 years, I made student loan payments, but it was on the wrong repayment plan. It was on the wrong, like, you know, something. But I did serve and make student loan payments for 10 years as a teacher. But even if I'm not a teacher anymore, if I still have a student loan balance under this limited time waiver, I can still get the rest of my loans forgiven, even though I'm not a teacher anymore.
Okay.
So once this expires, you can't do that anymore.
Okay.
So you have to do this now, even if at any point in time you were a nonprofit employer. If you made those payments while you were working at a nonprofit, full time at a nonprofit, those can count. So even if maybe like, you know, you plan on going back to a nonprofit instead of having, you know, everything start at 0 because you just started a new job. Like if you know, 5 years ago were working full time at a nonprofit, took a break, and now are back and you still have student loans, Like, you don't have to start at 0.
Yeah.
You can start from like wherever you left off in the past as far as payment counts go. And like, that's awesome. And that only happens with this waiver. And you have to do it before Halloween.
Okay.